The world of shadows, a clandestine ballet of information and deception, spun ceaselessly beneath the veneer of global order. In this intricate dance, few organizations moved with the silent, deadly grace of Mossad, Israel's legendary intelligence agency. Their reputation, forged in daring rescues and precision strikes, echoed through the hushed chambers of power and the dark alleys of espionage alike. From daring extractions to the quiet neutralization of threats, their history was a tapestry woven with threads of impossible missions and unwavering resolve. Yet, even for them, some threats emerged from the murky depths of geopolitics, casting long, unsettling shadows that demanded immediate, unconventional action. Whispers began to filter through the secure channels, fragmented reports coalescing into a chilling mosaic. A prominent figure, known only as the Architect, a master manipulator and financer of hostile organizations, had established a seemingly impenetrable base of operations in Dubai. Operating with audacious impunity from the glittering heart of the Arabian Peninsula, the Architect was a ghost, leaving only a trail of destabilized regions and sophisticated terror plots in his wake. Intercepted communications, mere snippets of coded dialogue and cryptic references hinted at an operation of unprecedented scale, a gathering storm whose magnitude sent shivers down the spines of Mossad leadership. The concern grew into a palpable fear, a silent alarm ringing through the agency's headquarters. The pressure to act, to dismantle this looming threat before it could fully materialize, became an oppressive weight. Among the seasoned operatives listening to these grim reports was Ariel, a man whose eyes, though sharp and intelligent, held a deep-seated melancholy. His reputation as one of Mossad's most brilliant minds was undeniable. Yet it was shadowed by a past failure, a mission gone tragically awry that had cost him dearly. The memory of it, a phantom ache in his soul, fueled his every decision, driving him with a thirst for redemption that bordered on obsession. His motivation wasn't just duty, it was a deeply personal quest to silence the echoes of his past, to make amends for a loss that still haunted his nights. His gaze was drawn to the holographic projection in the briefing room, a shimmering, impossible structure piercing the Dubai skyline, the Al Wasil Tower, a monument to opulence and cutting-edge security. It was more than just a hotel. It was a fortress, a symbol of the Architect's untouchable power, his gleaming lair from which he orchestrated his nefarious plans. Every inch of its polished chrome and reinforced glass screamed invulnerability. Initial intelligence, painstakingly pieced together from scraps, pointed to a critical meeting scheduled to take place within its gilded walls. A meeting that, if it transpired, could unleash unimaginable chaos upon the world. But the exact details, the who, what, when, and where, remained elusive, a frustrating ghost in the machine. The Architect was meticulous, his operations shrouded in layers of deception, making every piece of information a hard-won victory. The clock was ticking, and the shadows were deepening. The Al Wasil Tower stood as a defiant challenge, a silent dare to an agency renowned for achieving the impossible. The question wasn't if they could infiltrate it, but how. And the answer, for now, remained locked within the impenetrable walls of that shimmering edifice. The subsequent briefing was a cauldron of tension, a stark confrontation with the seemingly insurmountable challenge that lay before them. Mossad's most brilliant strategists laid out the cold, hard facts. Infiltrating the Al Wasil Tower was not merely difficult. It was, by all conventional standards, impossible. The hotel's security protocols were legendary, a multi-layered labyrinth of biometric scanners, pressure-sensitive floors, motion detectors, and a highly trained, omnipresent security detail. Satellite imagery, thermal scans, and even attempts at remote hacking had all met with absolute failure. Every traditional method of intelligence gathering or direct intervention had been meticulously anticipated and countered. The room was thick with the scent of stale coffee and unspoken frustration, the weight of the global threat pressing down on each operative. It was then that Ariel, his voice cutting through the despondent silence, proposed the unthinkable. His plan was audacious, bordering on suicidal, an unconventional high-risk infiltration disguised as something utterly mundane. A gasp rippled through the room, quickly followed by a chorus of skeptical murmurs. The audacity of it, the sheer potential for catastrophic failure, was almost too much to bear. Seasoned commanders, their faces etched with years of calculated risks, openly questioned his judgment. The Mossad command, usually unwavering in its pursuit of objectives, hesitated, weighing the immense stakes against the preposterous nature of the proposal. But Ariel was undeterred. He launched into an impassioned argument, his words resonating with a conviction born of desperation and a profound understanding of human nature. He spoke not of brute force or technological wizardry, but of invisibility, of the overlooked, the taken for granted. He drew upon his unique skill set, his uncanny ability to blend into any environment, to read the subtle cues of human perception, and to exploit the blind spots of even the most rigorous security systems. A flicker of something raw, something deeply personal, crossed his eyes as he spoke, a silent testament to the demons that drove him. He wasn't just presenting a plan, he was pleading for a chance at atonement. In his mind, he saw not just the mission's success, but the faces of those he had failed, a silent promise to never again allow such a loss to occur. The memory of that past failure, the weight of a lost comrade, a dear friend whose sacrifice still echoed in his quiet moments, fueled his every word, every gesture. This mission wasn't just about global security, it was about honoring a ghost. Despite the deep reservations, Ariel's unwavering resolve and the sheer impossibility of any other viable option slowly began to sway the room. A grudging acceptance settled over the command, a desperate gamble born of necessity. To his team, they assigned Lena, a brilliant but untested tech specialist. Her youth belied a mind of astonishing clarity and an intuitive grasp of complex systems. For Lena, this was her baptism by fire, an opportunity to prove her worth in an agency still dominated by field veterans. Her motivation was simple: to demonstrate that innovation and intellect could outmaneuver brute force, to earn her place among the legends. The team began to coalesce around Ariel, a motley crew of seasoned veterans whose faces told stories of countless battles mixed with fresh, eager talent, each bringing a unique piece to the complex puzzle. They were a diverse group, united by a common purpose and an uncommon leader. And then Ariel unveiled the chosen disguise, the seemingly innocuous veil that would grant them access to the impenetrable fortress. It was so simple, so utterly mundane, that it was brilliant. A high-end cleaning service, a perfect blend of invisibility and access, allowing them to move through every corridor, every room, every hidden corner of the Al-Wasil Tower, undetected, unremarkable, and utterly lethal. The audacity of it was breathtaking, a testament to Ariel's genius and the desperate hope that now flickered in the eyes of Mossad Command. The impossible mission had found its unlikely path. The revelation of their chosen cover, a high-end cleaning service, ignited a furious, relentless training regimen. Days bled into nights as the operatives, a collection of spies and strategists, were transformed into meticulous, almost invisible, cleaning professionals. Every detail was scrutinized, every movement rehearsed until it became second nature. They learned the precise sweep of a mop, the delicate art of polishing chrome without streaks, the intricate choreography of changing linens in a luxury suite. Mastering accents was paramount. They practiced the subtle inflections of various working-class dialects, ensuring their speech would blend seamlessly into the bustling, multicultural environment of Dubai. Their instructors, former hotel staff, and linguistic experts were unforgiving, drilling them on the specific jargon of housekeeping, maintenance, and guest services. They had to know the difference between a turn-down service and a deep clean, the proper way to address a VIP guest versus a casual tourist, and the unspoken hierarchy within the hotel's service staff. This intensive immersion went beyond the physical. It delved deep into the psychological. Living a lie, even in the controlled environment of their training facility, began to take its toll. The constant vigilance required to maintain their personas, the suppression of their true identities, created an underlying hum of stress. Ariel, driven by his personal demons and the haunting specter of his past failure, was a demanding leader. He pushed his team to their absolute limits, his gaze piercing, his expectations impossibly high. He saw every mistake as a potential catastrophe in the field, every lapse in concentration as a betrayal of their mission and those they sought to protect. His intensity was a double-edged sword, forging them into a cohesive unit, but also fraying nerves. Lena, despite her brilliance with technology, struggled with the physical demands of the training. Her hands, accustomed to keyboards and touchscreens, ached from scrubbing and lifting. Her lithe frame often buckled under the weight of industrial cleaning equipment. Yet her technological prowess proved invaluable. She designed custom, miniature devices disguised as cleaning tools, developed secure communication channels that mimicked hotel staff radios, and engineered surveillance equipment that could be hidden in plain sight. Her innovative solutions compensated for her physical shortcomings, earning her Ariel's grudging respect and the admiration of the team. Subtle relationships began to form within the team, a complex web of camaraderie, underlying tensions, and burgeoning trust. The shared hardship, the constant pressure, forged an unbreakable bond. They learned to anticipate each other's needs, to read unspoken cues, to rely on one another implicitly. Meanwhile, intelligence reports continued to filter in from Dubai, painting an increasingly urgent picture. The antagonists' operations were escalating, their network expanding, their influence solidifying within the region. The critical meeting at the Al Wasil Tower was no longer just a rumor. It was a confirmed event, looming closer with each passing day. During a particularly intense simulation, designed to mimic a high-pressure scenario in the hotel's busiest wing, a close call sent a jolt of stark reality through the team. A new recruit, momentarily flustered by a simulated security patrol, almost dropped a disguised communication device. Ariel's quick thinking and seamless intervention averted disaster, but the incident underscored the extreme risks involved. One wrong move, one moment of hesitation, could unravel everything. They were not just playing roles, they were living them, and the stakes were life and death. Just as their training reached its peak, a new piece of intelligence landed on Ariel's desk, chilling him to the bone. There was strong evidence suggesting a mole operating within the upper echelons of the Al Wasil hotel staff. A betrayal that could complicate their meticulously planned infiltration beyond imagination. The desert sun beat down on Dubai, its oppressive heat a stark contrast to the sterile, air-conditioned environments of their training. The team arrived in staggered waves, each operative blending seamlessly into the throngs of tourists and business travelers. Ariel, adopting the persona of a weary but competent operations manager for a European cleaning franchise, was the first to secure his position. He moved with a quiet authority, his eyes constantly scanning, absorbing every detail of the bustling airport, the gleaming skyscrapers, the endless flow of luxury vehicles. He felt the familiar hum of adrenaline, a sensation he had come to associate with both extreme danger and profound purpose. Their initial phase of infiltration involved securing positions within the sprawling cleaning staff of the Al Wasil Tower. It was a delicate dance of fabricated resumes, carefully rehearsed interviews, and the subtle manipulation of perceived weaknesses in the hotel's hiring process. Each successful placement was a small victory, a tiny thread woven into the intricate tapestry of their deception. They became shadows, blending into the background, their presence unremarkable, their efficiency expected. Every interaction, from a casual nod to a fellow cleaner to a polite exchange with a hotel guest, was a potential exposure, a moment where a single misstep could unravel weeks of meticulous planning. The pressure was a constant, low thrum beneath the surface of their carefully constructed smiles and deferential postures. Their first encounters with the hotel's security reinforced the intelligence they had gathered. It was even more sophisticated than anticipated. Cameras were everywhere, not just obvious domes in hallways, but tiny, almost invisible lenses embedded in light fixtures, smoke detectors, and even decorative elements. Security patrols moved with a practiced rhythm, their eyes sharp, their demeanor unyielding. Ariel, with his uncanny ability to read people, observed their patterns, noted their blind spots, and identified the subtle tells that separated genuine vigilance from routine boredom. He navigated the treacherous social dynamics of the hotel staff, building a network of superficial acquaintances, gathering snippets of information, and subtly redirecting attention away from his team. Lena, tucked away in a small, unassuming room disguised as a supply closet on a lower floor, put her tech skills to the ultimate test. She meticulously established covert communication channels, routing them through the hotel's own vast network, making them virtually untraceable. Surveillance equipment, disguised as air fresheners, fire alarms, or even forgotten personal effects, began to pepper key areas. She worked tirelessly, her fingers flying across keyboards, her mind a whirlwind of algorithms and encrypted data, building a digital web that would allow them to see and hear almost everything. Small, seemingly insignificant details began to emerge, fragments of information that, when pieced together, hinted at the antagonist's activities. An unusual pattern of deliveries to a specific set of suites, an unexpected increase in security personnel during certain hours, hushed conversations overheard in service elevators. Each detail was a clue, a breadcrumb leading them closer to the truth. One evening, as Ariel meticulously cleaned a deserted executive lounge, the scent of a particular perfume, faint but distinct, triggered a cascade of memories. It was the same fragrance his late wife had worn, a cruel echo from a past he desperately tried to outrun. For a fleeting moment, the mask of the cleaning manager slipped, revealing the raw grief beneath. He quickly recomposed himself, but the vulnerability, the stark reminder of his personal loss, lingered. The carefully constructed illusion of normalcy shattered when a critical error occurred. During a routine waste disposal run, one of the operatives, a young recruit named Elias, momentarily distracted, left a specialized, albeit disguised, scanning device visible in a refuse bin. A vigilant security guard, making his rounds, noticed the anomaly. The moment stretched, a terrifying eternity. Elias, his heart hammering against his ribs, froze. Ariel, ever watchful, saw the guard's gaze sharpen, a flicker of suspicion igniting in his eyes. He barked a sharp, almost imperceptible command in a low voice, a prearranged signal. Elias, jolted into action, quickly covered the device with a pile of discarded linen, feigning a clumsy stumble. The guard, his attention momentarily diverted by the minor commotion, shrugged it off as an oversight. The immediate threat passed, but the incident raised immediate chilling suspicion within the team. Their cover, for a terrifying second, had been compromised. The team recovered from the near exposure, a collective sigh of relief barely audible beneath the hum of the hotel's opulent facade. Yet, the incident with Elias had left an indelible mark. The hotel's security, previously a formidable but predictable presence, now seemed hyper-vigilant, their patrols more frequent, their gazes sharper, lingering just a fraction of a second too long. Ariel, however, was a master of turning adversity into advantage. He used the brief lapse in Elias's cover as a calculated redirection. He orchestrated a series of seemingly legitimate, albeit minor, complaints about Elias's supposed clumsiness and lack of attention to detail, subtly reinforcing the image of a bumbling, inexperienced cleaner. This narrative, carefully disseminated through the hotel's internal rumor mill, effectively deflected suspicion from the team's true purpose, cementing their innocent roles as mere cogs in the vast machinery of the luxury establishment. The search for the mole, a phantom presence hinted at by earlier intelligence, now intensified. The incident with Elias and Ariel's subsequent subtle manipulations inadvertently sowed seeds of paranoia within the hotel staff. Small acts of perceived incompetence, minor infractions, or even innocent delays were now viewed through a lens of suspicion by some of the security personnel. This internal disquiet, a quiet current of mistrust, was a gift to Ariel's team. They exploited it, subtly feeding the paranoia, making it easier to move unnoticed amidst the growing internal distrust. Ariel, with his chameleon-like ability to blend into any environment, began to gain unprecedented proximity to the antagonist's inner circle. He observed their movements, their preferred routines, the subtle hierarchies within their entourage, the nervous glances exchanged, and the almost imperceptible micro-expressions that betrayed their true feelings. A surprising revelation soon emerged, shaking the team's preconceived notions. The mole was not who they expected, not a disgruntled employee, nor a security guard bribed into complicity. Instead, Lena's tireless work, sifting through layers of encrypted communications, led them to a high-ranking executive within the hotel's management, a figure beyond reproach, whose public image was one of unwavering loyalty and impeccable integrity. This individual, seemingly a pillar of the establishment, was meticulously feeding information to the antagonist, manipulating internal protocols and creating blind spots in the hotel's security network. The discovery added another perplexing layer of complexity to their already intricate mission. The betrayal was not driven by ideology or greed, but by a complex web of blackmail and coercion, a detail Lena uncovered through fragmented, hastily deleted messages. Lena, meanwhile, was battling her own digital demons. The encrypted communications she had intercepted were proving incredibly difficult to decipher. The antagonist's chosen encryption was a sophisticated, self-evolving algorithm, constantly shifting its patterns, making it almost impossible to crack using conventional methods. Hours blurred into days as she pored over lines of code, her eyes burning, her mind racing against time. The urgency in Ariel's voice, the growing tension within the team, fueled her relentless pursuit. The team soon faced a profound moral dilemma. During one of their surveillance operations, they witnessed the antagonist's enforcers brutally interrogate a low-level hotel employee, an innocent man suspected of a minor indiscretion. The operatives, hidden in plain sight, felt the raw conflict between their mission and their ethics. Intervening would undoubtedly blow their cover, jeopardizing the entire operation and potentially leading to catastrophic consequences. Yet, standing by, watching an innocent suffer, gnawed at their very core. Ariel, with a heavy heart, made the agonizing decision to prioritize the mission, a choice that left a bitter taste in the mouths of his team, a stark reminder of the harsh realities of their world. Then, a discovery that sent a chill down Ariel's spine. While meticulously cataloging the antagonist's personal effects, disguised as a routine inventory check, he found a faded photograph tucked away in a hidden compartment of a desk. It was an old, sepia-toned image of the antagonist, much younger, standing beside a woman whose face was agonizingly familiar. It was his late wife, not as he remembered her in their shared life, but from photographs taken years before they met. A wave of nausea washed over him. The antagonist had a personal connection to his past, a link that twisted the professional mission into a deeply personal vendetta, suggesting a deeper, more agonizing conflict than he could have ever imagined. The implications of the photograph were staggering, a cold dread settling deep within Ariel's heart. The personal connection transformed the mission from a strategic imperative into a visceral, agonizing confrontation. Yet there was no time to unravel the threads of his past. Lena's breakthrough, fueled by caffeine and sheer willpower, had finally arrived. The communications, once a jumbled mess of encrypted data, yielded their secrets. The full scope of the antagonist's plan unfurled before them, a chilling blueprint for a major attack designed to destabilize the region, with devastating consequences far beyond the hotel's opulent walls. The critical meeting, the one they had been tracking for weeks, was not merely a strategic discussion. It was the final coordination, the moment the antagonist would unleash their meticulously crafted terror. The urgency was palpable, a suffocating blanket that descended upon the team. The critical meeting, Lena confirmed, was imminent, now scheduled for the following evening. This left them with barely 24 hours to act. Direct intervention was impossible. The antagonist had significantly increased their personal security, transforming their suite into an impenetrable fortress guarded by a rotating team of fiercely loyal, well-trained enforcers. Every corridor leading to the suite, every service entrance, was under constant surveillance. Their unique access as cleaning staff, once their greatest asset, now felt like a fragile illusion, easily shattered. Ariel, his jaw set with grim determination, began to devise a desperate plan. It was audacious, bordering on suicidal, but it was their only chance. He proposed disrupting the meeting from within, leveraging their intimate knowledge of the hotel's infrastructure and their seemingly innocuous roles. The plan involved a series of synchronized actions, a carefully orchestrated sequence of minor accidents designed to create confusion, draw away security, and provide a tiny window for their true objective. It would rely on split-second timing, perfect execution, and an element of complete surprise. Lena, despite the immense pressure, worked frantically to support Ariel's vision. Her fingers danced across keyboards, attempting to disable key security systems, not entirely, but just enough to create momentary blind spots, digital echoes of their physical diversions. She aimed to overload the hotel's internal network, triggering false alarms, disrupting communications, and painting a picture of systemic failure rather than targeted sabotage. The goal was controlled chaos, a smokescreen behind which the team could operate. She also began to craft a diversion, something loud and disruptive that would draw attention away from the antagonist's floor at the precise moment of their infiltration. Internal dissent, however, began to simmer within the team. The risks of Ariel's plan were extreme, pushing them far beyond their established protocols for deep cover operations. Doubts were voiced. Questions about the probability of success, the potential for catastrophic failure, and the inevitable loss of life if things went wrong. One operative, a seasoned veteran named Gideon, openly challenged Ariel, arguing for a more cautious approach, perhaps even aborting the mission and relaying the intelligence to local authorities, despite the inherent risks of exposing their presence. But Ariel's resolve was unshaken. The faded photograph, the chilling blueprint of destruction, and the ghost of his past fueled an unyielding determination. He understood the risks, felt the weight of every life entrusted to him, but the scale of the impending disaster, the sheer inhumanity of the antagonist's intentions, dwarfed any personal fear. He reminded them of their oath, of the lives they were sworn to protect, and the cost of inaction. His words, though grim, rekindled a flicker of shared purpose. As the team prepared for the long night ahead, a sudden jarring notification flashed across Lena's screen. The meeting schedule had been abruptly changed, not for the following evening, but for that very night, in less than 2 hours. The antagonist, perhaps sensing an impending threat or simply acting on a whim, had moved up the timeline. This unexpected alteration shattered their meticulously planned sequence, forcing an immediate, unplanned execution of their desperate strategy, plunging them into a frantic race against time with no margin for error. The hotel, once a symbol of the antagonist's power, was about to become a battlefield. The air in the hotel suite thickened with the unspoken tension of 1,000 hidden fears. Ariel, disguised as a senior housekeeping supervisor, led his team towards the antagonist's private floor, their cleaning carts laden not just with detergents and fresh linens, but with the hopes of nations. Every step down the plush carpeted hallway resonated with the impending chaos. Lena, a phantom in the digital realm, had already begun her intricate dance of disruption. Suddenly, the lights flickered erratically, plunging sections of the corridor into momentary darkness, then flaring back with an unsettling intensity. A distant alarm, muffled and quickly silenced, signaled her first breach. As they reached the antagonist's suite, a flurry of activity erupted. A sprinkler system on the floor below mysteriously activated, triggering a cascade of alarms and the frantic shouting of hotel staff. Security personnel, momentarily distracted, rushed to investigate the source of the unexpected deluge. This was their window. Ariel's eyes met those of his operatives, Gideon, the veteran, and Sarah, a young, agile recruit. A silent nod, a shared understanding of the monumental stakes. They moved with practiced efficiency, their movements fluid and synchronized, despite the adrenaline coursing through their veins. Ariel used a master key, obtained through Lena's electronic wizardry, to access the suite. Inside, the meeting was in full swing, a tableau of power and malevolence. The antagonist, a figure of chilling composure, sat at the head of a long, polished table, surrounded by his inner circle. The room was opulent, a stark contrast to the grim purpose it housed. As Ariel and his team entered, pushing their carts, their faces impassive, they were just another part of the hotel's invisible machinery. Lena's intervention escalated. Communication lines began to crackle and then die. Security monitors flickered to static screens, blind spots appearing like dark voids in the hotel's surveillance network. A sudden, piercing fire alarm blared through the building, a cacophony of urgent tones that sent a ripple of unease through the antagonist's meeting. Guards, their faces etched with confusion, began to move, some towards the exits, others attempting to restore order. The antagonist, however, remained seated, his gaze fixed on Ariel, a flicker of recognition, or perhaps just suspicion, in his cold eyes. "Trouble with the system, sir," Ariel said, his voice calm, his accent flawless, as he maneuvered his cart closer to the main console in the room. He reached for a cleaning spray, his hand subtly brushing against a concealed device. As he activated it, a powerful electromagnetic pulse surged outward, frying the remaining communication devices in the room and plunging the suite into an eerie silence, broken only by the distant fading wail of the fire alarm. The antagonist rose, his eyes narrowed, a predatory gleam replacing the initial suspicion. "You're not a cleaner, are you?" he stated, rather than asked. Ariel dropped his disguise, his posture shifting from subservience to steel. "My name is Ariel," he announced, his voice devoid of emotion, "and your operation ends tonight." What followed was a brutal, visceral confrontation. The antagonist, far from being a mere strategist, possessed a raw, unexpected ferocity. He lunged at Ariel, a blur of trained aggression, fueled by years of unchecked power and a chilling belief in his own righteousness. The fight was not elegant. It was a desperate dance of survival, each blow laden with the weight of past grievances and the future of countless lives. Ariel, driven by the ghosts of his past, fought with a controlled fury, every move calculated to neutralize, to disarm, to end the threat. The antagonist, his face contorted in a snarl, delivered a chilling monologue, his words painting a picture of a world he intended to reshape, a twisted vision of order born from chaos. He spoke of his motives with a terrifying conviction, revealing a depth of fanaticism that made Ariel's blood run cold. Meanwhile, Gideon and Sarah engaged the remaining guards, a desperate struggle unfolding around the central conflict. A sudden sharp cry tore through the air. Sarah, caught off guard by a swift kick, crumpled to the ground, her head striking the corner of a heavy table. Her eyes glazed over, her body still. The mission, the antagonist, the precise timing. All of it faded for a split second as Ariel's gaze locked onto his fallen comrade. The antagonist seized the moment, his hand reaching for a concealed weapon. Ariel faced an agonizing choice. Continue his direct assault, ensuring the mission's success, but leaving Sarah vulnerable, or break off, risking the entire operation to save a life. The weight of his past failure, the image of a lost comrade, flashed before his eyes. The fate of the mission and the lives of his team hung in a terrifying, silent balance. Ariel's decision was instantaneous, a primal instinct overriding strategic calculus. The antagonist's hand closed around the hilt of an ornate dagger. But before he could fully draw it, Ariel lunged, a roar tearing from his throat. The fury was cold, precise, honed by years of combat and the searing pain of past loss. He moved with a speed born of desperation, deflecting the dagger with an arm block, the blade scraping his skin, but failing to find purchase. His other hand snaked out, a brutal, efficient strike to the antagonist's solar plexus, followed by a swift, upward elbow to the chin. The man staggered, his eyes wide with surprise, the dagger clattering to the opulent carpet. Gideon, seeing Ariel's decisive action, redoubled his efforts, dispatching the remaining guard with a brutal efficiency born of years in the field. He then rushed to Sarah's side, his fingers pressing against her neck, searching for a pulse. A faint beat, irregular, but present, confirmed she was alive. Relief, sharp and sudden, coursed through Ariel, even as he twisted the antagonist's arm behind him, securing his hold. The mission, for now, had a precarious foothold. The extraction was a blur of controlled chaos. Lena, from her remote position, had rerouted internal communications, creating a symphony of false alarms and conflicting orders that buy time for their escape. The fire alarm, still wailing intermittently, served a dual purpose, masking their movements and sowing confusion. They moved through the labyrinthine corridors, a ghost in the machine, their cleaning cart now a mobile arsenal, its innocuous appearance their greatest asset. The journey to the service elevator was fraught with tension, every shadow a potential threat, every distant shout a harbinger of discovery. They reached the loading dock, where a nondescript van, prearranged by Lena, waited with its engine purring softly. Inside the van, the adrenaline began to recede, replaced by a profound weariness. Sarah, though conscious, was disoriented, a lump forming on her temple. Gideon tended to her with a quiet concern, his gaze occasionally drifting to Ariel. Ariel, for his part, sat in silence, the weight of the past few hours pressing down on him. The antagonist was secured, his network disrupted, his plans thwarted. The world was safer, for now. Yet, the victory felt hollow, tinged with the metallic taste of sacrifice. He had nearly lost Sarah, a stark reminder of the cost of his calling. The ghosts of his past, the faces of those he couldn't save, still whispered in the quiet corners of his mind. Back at the clandestine debriefing, the Mossad command offered their quiet commendations. There were no medals, no public fanfare, only the solemn nod of understanding between those who operated in the shadows. Lena, her eyes bright with a newfound confidence, detailed her technological exploits, her initial shyness replaced by the quiet authority of an expert. She had proven herself, not just to the team, but to herself. The agency, recognizing her exceptional talent, offered her a permanent position in a more central role, a testament to her invaluable contribution. Ariel, however, found no such comfort in accolades. He had sought redemption, and in a way, he had found it. He had saved lives, averted a catastrophe, and perhaps finally silenced some of the voices from his past. Yet the scars remained, etched deep into his soul. The world of espionage was a relentless cycle, a perpetual war fought in the dark, and he was forever bound to it. He found himself days later standing alone on a deserted beach, the vast expanse of the ocean mirroring the endless horizon of his own responsibilities. The Dubai skyline, a distant shimmer of light and glass, was a stark contrast to the quiet solitude surrounding him. He was a solitary figure, forever watching, forever ready. The operation had concluded, the immediate threat neutralized, but the shadows were long, and the world was vast. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues, Ariel knew with a chilling certainty that this was not the end. It was merely the pause before the next impossible mission, another whisper of a new threat, another call to the shadows. He was Ariel, and the game always continued.